How many claims have you filed though that are actually stated as tornado damage and not wind and hail?
Most of the time it's wind, but when it is something like a tornado or a massive hailstorm, the sooner you file, the more open the insurance agent's pockets are, the adjuster's pockets are. If you wait to file, they'll start tightening them back up. So the sooner, if after an event, you need to file as soon as possible or contact your agent where they can get somebody out there to take a look at it. Because the sooner you file, the easier it is to get the claim paid for after a big event like that.
Welcome to the 256. I'm JD, host of the 256 Investor Podcast. This is for both the seasoned investor building a portfolio of rental properties that wants to sharpen their skills and for the potential investor that needs to answer some questions and gain strategies to invest with confidence. We'll discuss all things investing, legal, tax planning, acquisitions, insurance, and of course, we'll discuss real life experiences with 256 investors. Whether you live in the 256 or invest from afar, this is for you. Thanks and welcome back to the 256 Investor. We're here today with Will Wright of the Will Wright Agency. Will, you've been in insurance for a long time. Tell us how you got started, how long you've been in this.
Well, I started in 1991. I was a life insurance agent. Worked for a life company called American General. Did that for a couple years. They promoted me to sales manager. I was over 6 agents. Then after that, I started looking through the P&C market and opened up agency in 1995 to do property and casualty. Been doing that as a captive agent for about 20 years. And then in 2014, went to an independent agency. And so I started independent. That way I could offer my customers a lot more variety, different companies, different prices to fit their needs.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because I know you've worked with some of the big boy companies,
We have.
the ones you see during every ball game, and the arena's named after them or the football stadium's named after them. And I have a lot of gripes against those companies because I've been with them, and it's been a difficult path. I prefer to work with people like you who can shop to different insurance carriers and find the best fit.
Yes, that makes a big difference because usually the insurance prices go in cycles. About every 5 years, an insurance company wants to be the lowest out there. That way they could recapture customers. And so, but then after they capture them, they start edging the prices up. And then when they peak out, usually around 5 years, they'll start going back down again. But if you don't shop, you keep paying the high prices and the new customers get the lower prices. And so the company I was with, they went 5 years, 6 years, 8 years, and they never did cycle back down. So I had to do something different for my customers and became an independent agency.
Yeah, I've been with some of the biggest companies over the past 20, 25 years having rental properties, and some of them, their rates just shot up through the roof overnight, and I had no choice but to shop around and
Yes.
latch on with a different carrier. I also had another one that's really big in the state. After the tornadoes almost 15 years ago, they just dropped me overnight and left me hanging.
And there's a couple out there that say, regardless of age, we'll never cancel you. And that is a lie. You can talk to some older people that had them. They're one of the largest ones in the country, but they will drop you on a dime if they feel it's necessary. And so just because your agent says, we'll never cancel your policy, they will.
Yeah, read the fine print because somewhere in there it says, don't pay any attention to what we told you. That's
Yes.
not exactly true.
Yes.
And I had insurance broker on earlier this year, and he was a Allstate guy for 4 years and said he had like 2,500 customers. In that time, Allstate paid out 0 roof claims.
Wow.
And that's what I hear, and I'll tell you who they are, Allstate and State Farm. I hear the same thing from everybody. We were denied our claim. And we had Tommy Sinyard on here a few weeks ago, who's a local longtime personal injury attorney, and he said he has filed 18 claims since the storms that came through 4 months ago in Huntsville. A big hailstorm came through, and I don't know how many hundreds or thousands of people have gotten new roofs out here, but Tommy has filed 18 cases And he said the majority of those were against State Farm because
Yes.
they just refused to pay out. And that seems to be the strategy, is force the consumer to take us to court if they want a check.
It is. Plus, it also matters if you're a number to an agent or if they actually care that you're with their agency. Who your agent is makes a big difference on the claim. If they just tell you to call a number and that's it,
Right.
they're not a very good agent. Most of the time, we have a roofer come out and look at our claims before we even file a claim, just to make sure there's damage. Because even if you file a claim, it can hurt you on your insurance rates, even if there's no payout. And so a lot of insurance agents will go ahead and, here, call this number. Well, guess what? Now you're hooked with that agent for another 3 or 5 years till that claim drops off, because now you can't get a better rate because you filed a claim. And so, that agent's using it as, protection on retention. I don't do that. We go ahead and have a roofer come out, make sure you have a claim. Then if the roofer says, yes, it looks like it's going to be a claim, we'll file the claim and make sure, you're going to actually have a claim. And then if the adjuster comes, we have roofers that will actually meet the adjusters, so that way they will actually see and show the adjusters what they're seeing. That way everybody can be on the same page. And if they're getting denied, why are you denying it? And so that's one thing our agency does. And, I would suggest if your agent doesn't do that, you might need to find a new agent.
Yeah, that's really good advice. I've filed all of 2 claims in my career as a real estate investor, and one of them was, goodness, over 15 years ago. Everybody on my street was getting a new roof, and all the neighbors told me, hey, we're all getting these new roofs. There's no way you're not going to get a check. Like, we all are, because we had a huge storm come through. This was in another city, again, about 15 years ago. And I made the mistake of not getting my own roofer up there to look at it and give me his thoughts. And I just took the guy's word for it. And I saw, there were new roofs going on every day for a couple weeks out there. And so I filed a claim with my insurance company. They sent out their adjuster, and he said, absolutely not. You don't have any substantial, I don't remember if it was wind or hail or both. He said, you don't have any, and they denied me. And the insurance carrier called me to tell me that I was denied. And I said, well, at least this won't hurt me in any way because I didn't get any money. And they said, not true. You still filed the claims. You still get the hit.
That's true.
So I got a double whammy there. I didn't get a new roof, and I got the fact that a claim had been filed.
Yes, right. And then the agent gets to keep you as a client because you can't go anywhere.
Right. So it's really key to get, I'd say, an independent roofer, somebody not related to not an adjuster or not somebody at the insurance company, go up there and look at the roof, someone who knows what they're doing and give their expert opinion, show you pictures.
Yes. Yeah. A good roofer will go up there. They will mark off the square that they see. You usually have to have 10 hail hits per 10 by 10 area. And, they'll mark that off and show them to you and show exactly what they're seeing. And then, like I said, my roofers, I always have them meet the adjuster, just to where everybody's on the same page, and then everybody can see, if there's damage or not.
Yeah, and I've gone through the claims process for the 3rd time in my life now because I was a victim of the hail and windstorm that came through 4 months ago, and so I knew better this time. I sent a roofer from a qualified expert local roofing company, and he got up there and he noted exactly what you just said.
Yes.
10 hits, and showed me the pictures of it, and he said, you absolutely have a claim here.
Yes.
And so I did it the right way this time, and then I filed the claim, and sure enough, everything worked out.
Yes.
And went just as it should. But if you don't know how to do this the right way, you can really get yourself in trouble.
Yeah, like I said, it all depends on how much the agent wants to help you out, because like a lot of times, like I said, they'll just give you the number to call, and then you're on your own. If you haven't ever filed a claim before and don't know these things, then, you're going to believe what the adjuster says. Well, I guess I don't have hail damage, or if it's on one side, that's a lot of things that they'll only pay for one side of the roof. And, because
nobody wants to get half of a new roof.
And then they'll cancel you because you've patched. There's some companies out there, if you have a patched roof, they won't even write a policy on a patched roof. but yet that's all the insurance company would pay for because that's all that there was deemed was just a patch roof. And so I've argued with several insurance companies, about patching a roof instead of actually replacing it, just because, you can't go anywhere else on a patch roof.
Right. And we're talking about the common problems here in Alabama. It's going to be wind and hail.
Yes.
I mean, I think it's pretty rare that we have any other, fire's a whole different thing.
Tornado.
Tornado.
Yeah.
I don't know if we get, how many claims have you filed though that are actually stated as tornado damage and not wind and hail?
Most of the time it's wind. It's, but there is called what's cat loss, which is more if it's a tornado or a huge hailstorm. It's called a catastrophe loss, and that allows doesn't really help the customers much, but it allows the agents on their loss ratio it's a different category if there's a major event that happens. But when it is something like a tornado or a massive hailstorm, the sooner you file, the more open the insurance agent's pockets are, the adjuster's pockets are. If you wait to file, they'll start tightening them back up. So the sooner, if after an event, you need to file as soon as possible or contact your agent where they can get somebody out there to take a look at it, because the sooner you file, the easier it is to get the claim paid for after a big event like that.
Right. And I mean, we have to be honest about what insurance is. They're hoping to take a lot of money and spend very little of it out in claims, right?
Yes.
That's the goal. So you do have to act fast.
Yes.
And be sure to get your ducks in a row, especially if you're an out-of-state investor, which most of our people listening are out of state. Some are out of the country. If you have a property manager here, make sure that they're following the right steps.
Yes.
And getting a roofer or wherever the damage is, get someone, an expert in that field, to look at it and determine the loss before you file the claim.
Yes. I mean, we've got several clients from Hawaii. We have some from Japan, different areas across the country that invest in Alabama. And Alabama's a great place to invest. But, you've got to have somebody here, property manager, a good insurance agent, that's going to take care of your business while you're away.
Right. So after it is deemed that there is some sort of a loss during the claims process, then the owner will file the claim.
Yes. And most of the time, I will either give the number to the client to file, or I'll be on the phone with him to guide him in the process. The reason why I like to do that is where it's not he said, she said. They're going to ask me questions that I might not know. And so that's why I want the owner on the phone with me, or have them call to answer all the questions, so it doesn't have to go back and forth and the claims filed faster. Yeah.
Better to have too many people involved than be
Yes,
ill-prepared
that's
going
correct.
into this.
Yes.
And it is very tricky, and I've been told, make sure you state that it was, such as wind and hail damage. Don't just say it was wind damage or just hail damage.
Yes.
Like, it's very tricky
It is.
how you phrase these things, and be very certain with the date that the damage occurred. Don't just be generic or say, well, a storm came through a few weeks ago. Be very specific about what happened.
Yes. Also, a good roofer, the one that we send out there, will actually tell you the exact time and date that it happened. Yeah. And so if you're not sure, make sure you ask the roofer who comes to inspect before you file the claim to tell you, hey, what time did this storm come through? If you don't remember exactly. If you were out of town, if you're out of town, if an out-of-town investor, you will need to ask that roofer to make sure exactly when it came through.
Yeah, and if your roofer's not giving you this information,
find another
you
roofer.
need to find another roofer.
That's correct.
Because somebody who knows what they're doing, they're going to tell you all these things that you need to do as the person filing the claim, so that you can get the most money possible.
Yes. And then we also have a new company out there that we write with that also sells a tornado policy. It is a deductible base to cover your deductible. It will pay up to $25,000 towards an deductible if a tornado comes through. They're trying to get it passed where it'll cover wind and hail if a hailstorm comes through. They were going to try to have that done this summer, but it still hasn't got approved through the state. Tennessee has it. and so I can sell it in Tennessee, the hail policy. But that'll help cover, because one thing you can do to lower your insurance prices is go with a higher deductible. But this policy will take care of that deductible up to 25,000, and so I'm just waiting for that hail to start so we can get those policies
Yeah,
ready.
we'll cross our fingers so that that passes sometime soon. So, following through with the claims process, like after you file the claim and you've got expert opinion from a roofer in this case that you did have substantial damage, say that you don't get the claim you were hoping for, the results of the insurance company, there is an appeal process, right?
There is. First thing you need to do is try to talk to your agent about it. See if there's what he suggests to. What you would do is the first step is I would ask to speak to a supervisor. See if we could get somebody to come back out and look at it again. And definitely, if your roofer didn't go out the first time, definitely have them there the second time to have them come out and relook at it again. We had a claim in Hartselle a few months ago. They said there was damage, but they said there wasn't enough damage. It was just right underneath his deductible. 2 weeks later, tornado hailstorm come through, damaged his house, and we got a full replacement after that. I hate because it was 2 claims, but that's what ends up happening. But we did get his roof replaced, and it was about a $25,000 roof.
Yeah.
And so we got that customer taken care of.
Yeah, it's kind of like a game of checkers involved for this.
Yes.
And I think that a lot of times the insurance company just wants people to accept that this is over, like deny the claim initially or offer some partial payment to repair parts of the roof,
Yes.
right? But you can appeal. I know a lot of times that works. And a lot of times they just want the consumer to work for what they're going to get.
Yes.
And it's as simple as that. And a lot of people just shut down. They say, well, I was denied.
Yes.
But that shouldn't be the end of the road.
No, and you should talk to your agent about it and voice your concerns. But there is a thing, just because everybody's roof is damaged in your area, they might have older roofs. Your roof might be, might have sustained the hail. There's different types of roofs and different types of hail resistant shingles out there. And so that's why you need to get an expert roofer that you trust, that knows what they're doing with insurance companies and can tell you if there's going to be a claim or not.
Right. Or they might say it's blistering or something like that, not hail damage, even though you see the pings and the divots.
Yes. And so that's or curled shingles, that's another thing, well, they were curled. It's due to age, not because of wind.
Right.
And so that's, but if you get a good roofer out there, got a good agent that's going to work with you, that's always the best thing to do.
Yeah, it's a good point to make that there is some risk involved because the damage has to stop somewhere. And it is possible that every other house in the neighborhood on the street was damaged but yours. That is a possibility. So there is always some risk associated with filing the claim that you get a negative hit against you if it doesn't work out.
And that's why I always suggest have somebody look at it first before you actually file the claim.
Right. And it's also, I suggest, and I mean, I do not jump the gun with filing claims all the time.
No.
That is not the position I want to be in. I think you would tell our investors listening, that's not the position you want to be in, where you're just filing claims every year. On
whether it's water, roof claim, wind claim, water claims, your water and your roof claims are your highest claims as far as being filed. And that's what's caused the insurance premiums to skyrocket. Because when I started in 1995, you could write a $600,000 home for $200 a year. Mm. Now, that's upwards up to $4,000.
Yeah.
And so, but people were using it as a maintenance policy instead of what it was designed for. They were using it because in Alabama, usually 10 to 15 years, we're going to get a hailstorm in an area and it's going to actually cause hail damage. Well, people would just wait and their roof would need to be replaced and they wouldn't do the maintenance on it. They just wait for a hailstorm to come through. And that's what's caused all these premiums to skyrocket. And so they're using them as a maintenance policy instead of an insurance policy for a major loss. And so that's why the premiums have skyrocketed like they have.
Yeah, good point. And I take the approach, I think you would agree with that, to have a little bit higher deductibles and not have in my plan to use it as a maintenance policy, not use the insurance policy as a maintenance policy,
That's correct.
but use it as a substantial, like we really did have a massive hailstorm.
Yes.
Or some of the worst things I've ever seen in a home is a 1/4 inch ice maker line to the refrigerator burst
Yes.
overnight, and it floods the house where everybody's sleeping. And you wake up and you're walking ankle deep in water. And you said,
Yeah.
the roof and the
And
water
water. Yes.
are the two most popular claims. I'm sure you've seen tons of those.
And the main thing to always check is, like your washing machine hose lines.
That's another one.
Those need to be replaced every so often. That causes a lot of damage.
I've seen the drain hoses pop out because they weren't secured into the drain slot, and they will literally pop out with the washing machine shaking and stuff. Older ones that shake
Yes.
around and pop out, and then boom, you're just draining.
And
And that's
so
a lot of water that
that is a
comes
lot
out.
of water, yeah, because you leave, you wash your clothes and you leave and go somewhere, and expect them to be done. Your house is flooded by the time you come back. Also, the water lines going to your toilets, those are hardly ever replaced, but they don't last forever. Those need to be taken care of. Those need to be swapped out, especially if it's a new home and it's a new investment you just made. Go ahead and do something simple. It's $8 to replace
I'm
the
so
toilet.
glad you mentioned that. And every time I buy property, which I normally buy aging properties, one of the things I will always do is replace the toilet supply line and the supply lines under the sinks. And the
Yes.
plumbers always tell me, you don't have to. This doesn't look that old. And I'm like, you don't know how old it is, and I don't know how old it is. And I would much rather spend the $10 on the part and $20 on the labor to replace this than have it pop off of the bill of the night,
Yes.
flood the house.
Yes, because it'll save you in the long run. Because like I said, you will have to file a claim, and it'll be covered, but you would have to file it. That's going to cause your insurances goes up. Your insurance is going to go up for a minimum of 3 years, if not up to 5 years. And so that savings you would have, even though the claim paid for it, just your cost of insurance is going to go up. You're stuck where you're at, even if you can't go anywhere because of the claims and stuff like that.
Right. And speaking of the likelihood of getting a claim, I think those are pretty black and white. Like the
Yes.
hose comes off, it's pretty easy. With other types of water damage that have maybe built up over years, those aren't going to be so easy to navigate. That's when you definitely want to talk to your insurance agent.
Yes.
What is the likelihood of this? And maybe get a plumber to investigate it and give you their thoughts on how the water, such as if you had floors buckling.
Yes.
And you know that it's water related, but you can't pinpoint it to, a hose burst and flooded the house. That's when it gets a little murky.
Correct. Your insurance is designed for sudden and accidental losses. It's not designed for overtime losses. So if it was a slow leak, slow drip, that will be denied 90% of the time, unless you just have an adjuster, that's going to work with you with that insurance company. But most companies, they will deny that if it happened over time,
Right.
majority of the time.
It's just like the roof. You really need to know the date and the time
Yes.
period that it happened and what exactly happened and how to state it. And if you can't do that with a water related claim, you're probably not going to get the claim.
That's correct. And then also, if there's any mold that happened, mold doesn't happen necessarily overnight. So if the area is molded or rotted through, that's going to be a pretty much denial because of that. And so don't expect just because you've had a water leak, if there's a lot of rot or mold, that's going to happen over time. And the majority of the time, it's going to be denied by your insurance company.
You're getting to the next subject I want to get into, mold.
Yeah.
This is a fun one. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think most companies do not even offer mold coverage. If they do, it has a very low minimum.
It is. It's
Or
going to be
low maximum.
Yeah, it's
of
going to
what-
be like $5,000 to $10,000 most of the time is what they'll cover towards mold. It will, and that's very tricky too, as far as like filing just a mold claim. And is it going to be beneficial for you to file a mold claim? Because then that's going to cause your rates to go up, and you're not really going to get much out of it, because it does have that limit on there. But the reason why they put that on there is to cover them because that way they're making sure you're covered, for everything. So if they give you a little bit of coverage, that helps protect them as far as, lawyers and stuff, trying to come back and, sue the insurance company because they're not going to cover something.
Right.
And they're going to say, well, we it's right here in your policy. We offered you the policy maximum for it, but it's only $5,000. We're going to raise your insurance $6,000 the next year over it, but
Yeah, and in your experiences, as long as you've been in this, how many times have you seen consumers have success with filing a mold
I've
claim?
never filed just a mold claim.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, I think you said everything we need to know.
Yes.
It is a difficult process.
Yes.
I don't think it's worth pursuing like it is with a cut and dry water claim
Yes.
or a roof claim.
That's correct. And they have, there's certain riders you can add on your policy now. It's called hidden water leaks that happen in the wall. That's still limited, but it does give you some coverage for that in case there's like a leak in the wall that's, that's been leaking that you didn't know about. That might not be as sudden and accidental where it's all of a sudden, coming through your wall because it's a big leak. There's a few companies out there that offer that coverage also.
I think we'd all be better off if we just checked our water meters every once in a while and just make sure that it is not spinning at all whatsoever. And if you go to town for extended period of time, just shut the water off at the meter.
That is true. That helps out a lot.
Yeah, mold was the other big one. I mean, I just don't think that requires as much time spent on it. It's a difficult process.
It is very difficult.
Be thankful if you have some coverage, but I think a lot of people probably don't. Or am I wrong about that? Do most companies include some?
They're gonna include a little bit, or just say it denies mold altogether.
Okay.
But most of the time, when there's a payout in mold, it's due to some type of water damage. They'll come in and use the mold coverage, to help supplement some of the cleanup and stuff like that. And so, but as far as just filing an outright mold claim, that more than likely, like I said, in the 30-something years, I haven't ever had one.
Okay. Last thing I want to get to, and you're an investor yourself.
Yes.
You've bought and sold, you've flipped, you've held some long-term rentals.
Yes.
You've completed a 1031 exchange, our favorite thing to talk about on this show.
Yes.
What are some tricks you picked up when it's related to insurance, having your own rental properties and flipping properties? What are some things you would suggest to fellow investors? Some advice and tips.
Right now, as far as on purchasing single family dwelling homes are easy to insure. Fourplexes or less are easy to insure. Anything over 4 units is harder to insure now. There's a very limited amount of companies that will insure multifamily over 5 or more units. And so don't expect to be getting the best rates when you're getting those type properties, because they are the market is limited. The age restriction is limited. There's a lot of companies will not insure a home now or a multiplex if it's over 1990. So a lot of the 1970s, 1980s, you're having to go to a high risk, and can only get actual cash value. And so that's, and the premiums are still high even at the actual cash value rates.
And we'll talk a little bit about this. We don't have a lot of people, I don't work with a lot of people who invest in greater than 4 unit structures, real multifamily. A lot of people ask about it. Is they hear on like national podcasts, you should get the more doors, the better.
Yes.
Maybe depending on where you are, but insurance is killer right now.
That's correct. In this area. And I've been involved with it to an extent, being on boards of HOAs and stuff like that. Coverage for big buildings is just really difficult. The premiums are insane. With everything else, insurance has inflation, but it seems much worse than in other industries, and it is tough. So I will put a word of warning, like you mentioned, if it's a structure of greater than 4 units, you may be priced out just with the insurance. Yes. Yeah, usually a fourplex, we can write a fourplex $2,000 or less. Single family dwelling, we can write anywhere from, depending on how new it is, we can write anywhere from $800 to $1,200 on average is what a single family dwelling rental runs right around now. These are built in the probably early 2000s. They're running about $1,200 a year.
Okay.
For around about $275,000 single family dwelling.
Yeah. In your experiences having investment properties, did you prefer to have every bit of coverage you could possibly? Did you have all these riders attached to your policies, or were you like, give me the highest deductible possible?
When I first started, I did, but then that's when I, found out, through my industry and just through having them, the more claims you have, the higher your, the premiums are going to be, the lower your, net income's going to be out of the property. So it's best to go with a higher deductible, keep the premiums low. That way you can keep, your investments high, on your income.
Right. And even though as much as people hear about these catastrophic storms that have come through North Alabama, they really only come through like once every 20 years, right?
Yes.
It's not like we're battling these annually.
Oh, no. It's like I said, usually it's around 10 to 15 years, is when somebody but it happens during the lifetime of a roof, because the roofs used to be 20 years, and that's the max the roof times it used to be. Now they're 35, 50 years. Also, if you're investing and you have a metal roof, some of your insurance companies now have called what cosmetic loss on there is not covered. So you could have hail dings on a metal roof, and it's not covered because there's not an actual leak.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's one thing. If you have a metal roof, you need to check with your policy. It does give you a discount if you choose that on there, but some companies require it, and then some companies use it as an option. But if it's, cosmetic, they not necessarily is going to deny it, or you can choose not to cover that.
Yeah. So in your experiences, higher deductibles and taking the cash flow as opposed to putting more money into the insurance has been a win.
Yes, it has. Yes.
And then you can kind of hope that you get a new roof at some point
if
your
you can,
ownership of it.
Or do what you're supposed to do and just do your regular maintenance like it's supposed to do.
Right.
Have that budgeted in,
Yes.
that needs to be,
What a crazy idea.
Yes.
Budget in to pay for your own roof.
Yes.
This is, okay. Well, any other tips or strategies, anything that you've picked up over the years, just being an insurance agent and being an investor yourself, anything else you'd want to share?
Just buy low, sell high.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, you're the king of that, Will. I've known you for a long time, and I think you pulled that off better than anybody I've ever met, but buying low and selling high.
Yeah. Well, I did pretty good at that, yes.
Yeah. Well, Will, tell everybody where they can find you and get a hold of you.
Well, we are located in Decatur, Alabama, in the Plum Tree Shopping Center. That's on the Beltline. We're in Suite J. Our phone number is 256-353-5537. You can also see us on our website at thewillwrightagency.com, and we would love to be your insurance agent of preference.
Yeah, give Will a call. Again, that's willwrightagency.com. He's a good guy. Been in this business a long time. I really appreciate this, Will. We've been hoping to do this for a long time, so I appreciate you coming by and chatting with us for a few minutes and sharing your thoughts. For Will Wright and AVO for recording this for us, I'm JD. My time's up. I thank you for yours.
Thank you.
This podcast is proudly sponsored by 256 Realty, investors helping investors. Visit us at 256realty.net. Big thanks to our production team at AVO Multimedia Services for producing, editing, and providing the music that brings this podcast to life. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe or follow the podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, or whatever platform you choose. We'd love it if you'd leave a comment, review, and rating. It really helps us grow and continues to bring you valuable content. And of course, don't keep all this knowledge to yourself. Share this episode with a friend who's ready to level up their investment game. To catch more episodes and video content, visit our YouTube channel at 256 Investor.